So you're in Utah?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Just right by Salt Lake.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I got out there maybe like 7 years ago. It was really fun out there. It was in the summer. I got the worst sunburn of my life
Oh
when
yeah.
I was out there. Yeah, and that's like growing up. You grew up in Australia, right?
Yeah, Sydney.
Sydney? Whereabouts in Sydney?
I hate saying it because it sounds like I was a rich kid, but it's Castle Hill. It's just the western suburbs.
Yeah. I know where it is. I grew up on the Central Coast until I was like 14.
Oh, okay. Which part of the Central Coast?
Which part wasn't I? I moved every... Baddo Bay, Killarney Vale, Tumby-Umby. Had family in Gosford, and so we'd be around everywhere.
Oh, okay. Yeah, nice area. Central Coast.
Yeah.
Love it. We used to go to the entrance every Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
There's a little quarter pipe right on the... Yeah, yeah, we liked it.
Oh, yeah. The little quarter pipe.
The little metal quarter pipe just off the side of the road.
Yeah.
That was your
used
spot?
To skate that. Oh, no. Let me put this backtrack on that. I was shit scared of it. Like, I don't even think about now. I'm like, that wouldn't have been that big. But I remember, like, I'd be on, like, my butt. I was, like, maybe, 9 doing that.
Yeah.
And I'd be like getting into... I was sort of got into skateboarding. Like, it was always around, and I always had boards, but I didn't get into skateboarding until I was, like, 16. And then it was just, like, a hard skyrocket for me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I remember because the last time we went there, I was probably about maybe like 12, 13. But I remember it being, it was a vert quarter pipe, right? Like a metal vert quarter pipe.
Had the slope, right? You had
Yeah.
Went into it.
The concrete down up to the,
Yep.
That was our...
Oh, was it big? Maybe it was bigger than I thought. Maybe I'm talking it down in my head now, thinking I was much more of a weenie than I was.
Yeah.
I remember kids used to like sit on it and then push down to like drop in it, and I was too scared to sit on the board and do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we went back the year before last I was showing my family all the little spots where I used to skate. And we lived... Castle Hill didn't have a park, but right where I lived, there was a place called Knightsbridge. And the council promised us a little skate park, a little snake pit. And they built the smallest... just the roughest little snake pit. So I took my son there. I'm like, look how bad it can get. Like, people make videos about the worst skate parks in the world, but really the Knightsbridge snake pit is the worst. Like, people would just burn milk carts in their smash bottles. That's what it turned into. Yeah. Everyone skated at once and they're done.
Yeah. And everyone like probably heard about it going like, oh, there's a new little skate park around here. Let's go see it. It's a little snake run. And then they're like, oh, no, it's a little...
man. It's a joke how bad it was. Or is still, but yeah. It's kind of funny. I'm glad it's still there. Just in the middle of the bush by a baseball field. But I'm glad it's there just as a look how bad skate parks can be made.
I'm surprised it's still there.
Yeah, it's just in the middle of... It's in the middle of nothing, so it isn't worth pulling out, because if they pull it out, it'll just be more dirt. So, yep.
Yeah. Fair enough. What brought you over to the Seppo land?
My dad's work. It was just my dad. We moved away from Australia when I was 15. We moved to Germany and England, and then we ended up in the US when I was 17. So it was 2 years in Europe. And then Utah is where my dad's kind of headquarters were for his job. And they're like, oh, you'll just be here for a year. And we're like, oh, okay, we could try out the US for a year. And then after a year, they're like, oh, how about 2 more years? And then it just turned into, did you just want to stay? And I had friends in high school, and, so I was like, yeah, I got friends here. I could stay here. But we went back to Australia every Christmas. I still kind of had my foot in, like, I still kind of felt like Australia's there, it's home, I'm going to end up there. And then just 25 years passes or something, and I'm still in Utah.
Mine's not similar, but I feel the same way, where I still feel very Australian, very, like, that's my home. Like, that's where my heart is, kind of thing. But I don't think I'll ever live back there again. I moved back there when 2018 to 21.
Oh, yeah. Well, you still have your accent. When did you move here? Because you still have your accent, like you're still living there.
Well, depends on when I go back and my Australian mates hear me. they're like, "You fucking
Oh.
suck. What are you doing?"
Gee, imagine how I am then. I go back and because mine is barely hanging on. But or people in America, people in the U.S., like, oh yeah, you got an Australian accent, and the Australians just like, you are full 100% American.
Yeah, a lot of mine is like the small little like sayings they say here differently, like versus how you're going versus how you're doing.
Yep.
And like the Australians would be like, what are you saying? It doesn't compute for them.
Yeah.
But then when I'm over here, when I say it, they're like, they're sort of charmed by it. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. There's
Australians, not so much.
Australians have a rhythm of speaking too that's different to the U.S. And I feel like my rhythm, my cadence sounds American. So and then kind of what you're saying too, these little phrases. So I have all that now. But like I was just thinking of Jason Ellis, the skateboarder.
Yeah.
So yeah, he moved here when he was 17 too, but his accent, he has a pretty good Australian accent, but he still has he hits his R's really hard. Like sometimes like, sure, and it's like he has that, but he still has the cadence of an Australian, oh yeah, bloody hell. Like he still kind of has that, but he hits his R's really hard. So it's interesting to see how he's kind of how his accents changed over whatever years.
I sometimes wonder if being an Australian here, the reason I keep my accent more, and maybe same with Jason Ellis, is that you kind of get away with a little bit more. Like if I'm out playing pickleball with some older people and I can swear and curse and they're like, oh, that's just those convicts in Australia. And you can kind of get away with it, right?
Yeah. Well,
so like maybe Jason Ellis sort of like was able to play along with that a bit longer.
Yeah. And he's a showman too. Like he likes to ham it up. But when I first moved here, I didn't have a license. And my parents went out of town, and I took their car for a little joyride around, and I ran a traffic light, and I was a bad teenager. I crashed my car, my dad's car, and the cop came out. And he was yelling at me because he's just like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I'm 17-year-old. I don't know what I'm doing. But I was trying to fake an American accent because I still had my Australian accent then, because I didn't want him to know that I'm just some Australian teenager just crashing cars in intersections. So that's when I was like trying to fake it the hardest. I was like, sure, I'm sorry, officer, But and then through high school too, I always had people say, oh, like, say throw another shrimp on the barbie, or say car, say parking lot. Yeah. And then that got old really quick. It was cool for the first week, and then I was like, oh man, and then so I kind of I purposely tried to kind of not hide my Australian accent, but took the edge off, just because you go to Walmart and people are like, oh, where you from? Like, oh, Australia. Like, oh, I always wanted to go there. You got kangaroos, you got snakes, and you're like, nah, I grew up in the suburbs.
Every single day. Like every single day. And the worst part is I grew up sort of a little bit bush as well. So they'd be like, oh, did you see kangaroos on the way to school? And I was like, fuck, I did see kangaroos on the way to school every day. Like, they were just at the end of my street, and that's where they would sit in the sun while they'll wake up, and I'd be like, oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay, I did see them.
Yeah, we didn't
I was in a little bit in the burbs, but I was...
Yeah. So we grew up in the suburbs, but I never saw snakes. Spiders, sure, but whatever. But no kangaroos, no koalas, well, none of that. So I just grew up in that suburban, pretty close to the U.S. kind of lifestyle, just... sports on the weekends and barbecues and the mall and skateboard. So it's so close to the U.S. culture. So my American friends are always disappointed when I tell them that. I'm like, it wasn't too different from what you grew up. Like we didn't have, there are some things we didn't have, but then there are other things that were similar. Like we didn't have American football. We had rugby, and there's a comparable or something you compare it to that's almost the same. But they don't want to hear that. They just want to hear me riding kangaroos.
Well, so when I grew up, I was like the opposite, where I lived in the suburbs, but all I wanted to do was get down to the little bush area we had in between the two suburbs, and I was just catching snakes and lizards and bringing home everything I could. frogs, turtles, and my mum would just be. And I've got all these crazy stories where like I woke my mum up with a snake when I thought it was a legless lizard when I was, like, in grade 2, and then she was like, "That's a fucking brown snake," catches it, all this stuff. Like, but I've got all these stories, and so people like think that I was like way tougher than I was when I was just a dumb kid.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I survived it, you Americans can survive it because you're not going anywhere to those places.
Yeah, yep. That's funny. I like that.
Yeah, it's so do you want to jump into the questions?
Oh, yeah, whatever you want to do.
What? Yeah. All right. The questions will end up like bringing stuff out, so it's more like conversation leading.
Okay,
stuff.
let's do it.
So I'll do a little intro, and then I'll be like, all right, then we'll get into them. Okay?
Yep.
All right. Here we are, joined to your story with Rich Wilson, one of the funniest guys on Instagram with skateboards at the moment, and I'm really excited to jump in for the 10 questions. How you going, Rich?
Good, thanks.
Good?
Thanks for having me. Good. Did you want me to say something else? Thanks for the compliment too. I don't think I'm the funniest, but yeah, you paused like I should have said something more.
No, it was just so like, thanks.
Oh, sorry.
So flat.
We've already been chatting for 20 minutes, so I felt like it's like we've gotten past this.
No, I definitely felt that. All right. Would you rather breathe underwater or fly?
I think fly, because I can kind of look down and see stuff fly around. It also depends how fast I can fly. Because if I could fly across the ocean, then for sure. Or fly to, if I want to go to the beach really quick. But underwater, it's limiting. Like I would need to be able to see clearly underwater. Like, do my eyes work as goggles, or am I just still blurry?
That's the first time someone's brought that up.
Oh yeah. Well, if you can breathe underwater and you can't see it, it's just like, what's the point? Well, you could bring goggles, I guess.
True. Yeah, I was more thinking when I go surfing, and then that way I'm like, oh, I got hit by a big wave. It's cool. I can breathe underwater. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then
you could go. Yeah, you could go to Portugal, and you could ride any wave if you could breathe underwater.
Exactly. Well, I don't know. Those guys that ride that wave is crazy.
Yep.
Did you see one was 113 feet or something like that?
No, that is crazy.
I don't even. How is that wave like? What I don't understand is it seemed to pop out of nowhere. I remember watching surfing growing up a bunch, coinciding with skating.
Yep.
And then that wave just felt like in the a middle 2000s.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, now there's this huge wave that everyone hasn't surfed before.
Has this been there the whole time, or did nature just create this wave in the last 20 years? Yeah, it is crazy. I never heard of that, and then suddenly that's the spot. You see just the images of the lighthouse and a monster wave, and you're just like, how do we not know about this in the 80s or 90s? Yeah. Were the locals keeping it a secret? Why didn't we know about it?
They're just paddling into it, just being hardcore. But no, we don't tell anyone this.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Maybe it was just unsurfable with jet skis and stuff. We were like, but you think there would have been photos of it being like, hey,
that guy,
one day we're going to be able to surf
the guy living in that lighthouse knew about it. He was keeping it a secret. Those damn Portuguese.
Holding on for himself.
Yep.
I think he's just shitting himself. Is that going to hit me? All right. What do you do to pay the bills?
I'm a carpenter, a finished carpenter. So everything inside the house that's wood except for cabinets, pretty much. So hanging doors, baseboard, casing, shiplap, just all that stuff.
Okay, cool. How'd you get involved in that?
I went to college for a couple of years, and I'm not academic at all. So I had a friend that kind of knew that. He said, hey, me and my dad need someone to help us frame houses. They're in construction. So I just went and helped them for a summer. And then for a summer, I helped them for a year. And then I was done with college. I couldn't. I was going to college to, I was I kind of want to be a photographer. And now you look around, every soccer mom with a SLR camera is a photographer. So I was just I don't want to be a wedding photographer. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was I don't need to go didn't think I needed to go to college for that. But then after a while in construction, I was like, this is kind of my pace. I like working with my hands. I could just, I don't know. I always because growing up, always building skateboard ramps. So I kind of just had that.
Yeah.
Just like cutting wood, nailing it, kind of felt like every day I'm building something and it feels productive, but not I'm sitting behind a laptop in a cubicle. And, it just felt more the lifestyle I wanted, even though it's not the easiest job in Utah. The winters are snowy and the summers you're just baking in the sun. So that's actually why I traded to finish carpentry, which is all inside, but it's still, it's not the easiest job.
Yeah. That when you grew up doing when you were growing up skateboarding and making ramps, were you taking I'm trying to put this the most polite way, so were you stealing wood from places?
Yeah, we were, and I'm not proud of it, but I made a video on Instagram it was early on about I'm working on a house and I look out the window and somebody's stealing wood. And so I'm like, not stealing my wood. So I start running down the stairs to chase him to get my wood. And while I'm running, I'm having memories and I'm showing real pictures from my childhood and teenage years of ramps that I'm riding, and I put stolen over the pictures. So these are all ramps. I just stole all the wood. Yeah. And then I get out to the garage and I see the guy. It's me from a different angle. I see the guy running down the street carrying this 2x4, and then I just let him go because I just realized, like, kind of like karma, like this is what I did and he's doing the same thing. But anyway, so I made that video, and then many people started commenting like, I can't believe you were stealing wood too. Like, we were stealing wood, but everyone kind of had the same thought. It was like, everyone, I don't know if it was just like late or mid 80s to mid 90s. It was just, no one was buying wood for ramps. I didn't know anyone that paid for wood. And it's not something I'm proud of. It's just like something that was happening. Just every kid that had a half pipe or a quarter pipe launch ramp, they were all stolen. It was just.
All my little stuff was stolen, but it mainly because I wasn't ballsy enough. So I would be in their scrap bin, pulling out all their scrap stuff and like getting that stuff. But yeah, no, I definitely felt. I feel like I've seen that one, and I was like, oh. To be honest, a lot of your videos, I'm like, yep, nailed it. Oh yeah, that's exactly how I'm feeling. Like the ollie one where you ollie and you like line it like as if you're doing a height chart. I was like, I showed my wife and I was like, is this not what I'm like?
It gets a little lower every year. I didn't really steal that idea, but I kind of. There's ladies that used that Billie Eilish song. I saw two ladies do it, and they would stand up by a doorway and they would kind of measure their boob getting lower every year. So they'll draw a line on the door jamb, and it's just a little lower every year. And then she put her head down like depressed, and then her husband would like pat her on the back. And I was like, I need to do that with the ollie. So my ollie's getting lower every year. But I was like, somebody's going to think of this really quick. Like somebody's watching this and thinking the same thing. So I quickly made it. And it's funny, like, because I spend a lot of time with some of my videos. I'm like thinking them through, like music, like what I got to. And that one, I just like told my wife, like, let's go to the garage, just film this really quick. And then that's my most popular video that took 20 seconds to film. And it's like the ones that I work on the most are the ones that.
I know. I feel you so much on that.
Yeah. People just like an easy premise.
Like even some of my illustrations, I'll be like.
Go ahead.
Yeah. They're the classics one. No, you're good. I was just shooting the shit and being like saying the same thing. Even with my illustrations, where it's like I'll be like, "Oh, this is so elaborate. This is so amazing, and look at all these little lines I did in details." And people are like, "Oh, that tiny little sketch you did just got the most." Which my likes are nowhere near yours, but gets way more movement.
It can be frustrating, but it says something, because when you spend a lot of time on, because I paint too, a painting. There's all these little details, and sometimes I put in references that are personal to me, and I think they're genius, but other people don't see the big picture like I do, because everything means something to me. But to them, they're just seeing one image, a lot of the time, and it's easily digestible if there's not a lot of inside references. You know, if it's just a simple premise to get or a simple idea, that's what they appreciate, especially if it's like a video that's like 15 seconds. They like, I get it. This is nice and clean. There's no fat on it. And but when I go into elaborate videos and I'm really trying, it's like, this is too much for people. Don't care, you know. But to me, it's like, look how cool. But they're like, too much.
Yeah. No, I feel you on that. But sometimes I have to sort of pull back and be like, I'm really doing this myself.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
Getting the ideas or the stuff out of my head. Yeah, I feel you on that. So, how much time? People that are listening and watching, they might not realize, but you have a Instagram channel that has how many followers?
I feel douchey saying it's almost at 90. It's 90.
No, you don't. Yeah, okay, so that's great. But you do these videos and this content that's kind of funny from a skateboarder's perspective and from an older skateboarder's perspective in some times. I don't know.
Well, that's how that's me. I'm an older skateboarder, so I just make videos of what I know. Yep.
Yeah. So how did you get making these videos? Like, what made you go, you know what, I'm going to make a video?
I've been making videos for about almost 10 years now, just about, like I said, paintings. I'd film myself painting something or building something out of wood. I made plenty of skateboard videos too, me dropping in on a bunch of silly things around the house. But then I started this Instagram account to post my paintings. So my Instagram handle is thrift store paintings, because I would buy paintings from thrift stores and paint like something from a movie like Ace Ventura or The Goonies, or, you know, just whatever pop references from my childhood. And I got really burnt out. I did too many paintings within a year, and I was like, I'm so sick of this. And that's right when I started the account. So I only posted one painting under my thrift store painting name. And then I made a skateboard video. I went to a skate park. I had like a 360 camera. I'm like, I'm just going to pump around this pump track and hold the camera behind me. I think it'll look cool. And then lots of people watched it and liked it. And I was like, and I realized that there's a skateboard community on Instagram that I wasn't really familiar with. I was only on there for art. And so I made another video of me skateboarding, and then it got not a lot of attention, but it got attention more than any of my other videos had done before on YouTube. And then I was like, I'm going to make a video, like a comedy-based video, like something like a sketch. So I sat out on my front porch, and I'm like, this is how you kick out skateboarders that might be skateboarding around your work or around your house. And I just said, don't go out and yell at them. What you need to do is secretly learn a kickflip. If you're like a housewife or just some old guy or whatever, learn a kickflip and then go out and say to them, if I could do a kickflip on your skateboard, will you leave? And my point was, they'll always take you up on it, and they'll never think you could do it. And then you do it, and then they'll respect you and they'll leave. But this is like a 30-second video. It took me longer to explain it, but it was just like a simple premise that had some truth to it, but it was also kind of fun. And then that video just kind of got a lot of attention. I was like, then I started to think about Instagram and skateboarding. Skateboarders love skateboarding content, and they love watching, you know, people go down rails, people do mega ramps and stuff. But there's so much of that on Instagram that it's almost too much. So it's hard to, I don't know. You see bigger sets of stairs, and you almost become not numb to it, but it all kind of looks the same, at least to me. So this is just me kind of analyzing, why are my videos getting attention when there's skateboarders really good doing really impressive stuff? And I think it's just a little adjacent to skateboarding because it's comedy, but I think people want to see skateboarding content, and I'm doing something a little different. So I got a sketch or a joke attached to something related to skateboarding. So I just kind of kept doing that. I was like, what is a thing skateboarders in the skateboarding culture they do that they could relate to? And then just make a 20-second, 30-second sketch about that. So I think I've covered pretty much everything in my head that I could think of, like stealing wood, I did one about taking pictures in the 80s, like your camera had that delay and you couldn't see, and then you go get your film developed and you're like going up the ramp. You're not in the air. So just a little sketch of me getting to Walmart, pulling out the photos, and it's all, it's just me going up the ramp. So just all these little ideas that we've all had, all these thoughts about skateboarding. And then I try to squash it down into a 20-second video. It's a nice little tight premise that I try to, So where did you start? What was the first question that got me there? Sorry, I've rambled forever.
No, that's great. No, that's awesome. There's two questions I wanted to sort of ask back on that. Is I've actually been watching a lot of the like girls skateboarding content. It feels very much like the 90s skateboarding. Like they're accelerating so fast.
Oh man, Reese Nelson
are getting so
you know that girl on Tony Hawk's ramp?
Oh yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off, but there's some really impressive stuff going on.
No, you're good. Really good stuff, right? Like whether it's Reis from Brazil or the Japanese girls and like all that, and there's that Australian girl Cho, like Chloe, or whatever her Instagram handle is. But they're coming up, but it's like rising like that, but it still has that sort of 90s vibe to it a little bit. But I agree with the level of skateboarding is almost incomprehensible to how I was skating. So like when you see Yuto doing like these nollie 360s to no slide 270 out, and I'm like, there is no way when I was growing up that I could have thought that was a possible trick. You know what I mean? And they're doing these in competitions. Like it just doesn't seem.
Is it their setup tricks? Not even their setup tricks. Just their little filler tricks are the tricks that were the biggest tricks when we were younger. Like they do blunt. They go up on a big vert wall, do a blunt frontside 180 in. Like this is just my kick turn. This is my kick turn to get to the wall I want to get to. And I could never do that. So it's crazy to see. Like it's almost unobtainable. Like that's why I like. Excuse me. I think that's why I like watching a lot of old skate videos. Not that I could do everything that they're doing, but it's like at least something I could strive to attain. But even tray flips these days, doing a tray flip is just like my legs aren't that quick. I don't have those in. I've tried. I've gotten one, but I can't. I don't. That's not a trick that I could just do.
I have a better chance of getting a tray flip than I do a kick flip. My ankle's so weak from rolling so many times. But a tray flip is sort of just a scoop of my back foot. I'll be honest. So my knees and ankles have really like sort of taken their toll from skateboarding over the years. And when I was living back in Australia, I was skateboarding so much, and I like even at one point tore my MCL and on the shittiest little ollie, of course, not like anything that's cool. And but I said in the last year or so, I haven't really skated that much. I've been playing a lot more pickleball. But the thing I was going to ask is, I feel like I'm sort of taking a new role because I don't watch any pickleball. I don't watch any other sport. All I do is consume skateboarding and art. That's all. And like women online, like, you know what I mean? When you go through your social media, like, oh, there's a girl, oh, whatever. But other than that, it's like just skateboarding and art. And so I have now become what I think skateboarding needs is a person that used to skate but still loves, like, so I'm like a viewer of skateboarding, a consumer. So then I'm buying still like being up to date on stuff. I'm buying like, I've still got a pair of like half cabs on. I'm wearing like buying clothing from brands like Butter and stuff like that are skateboard brands, and I see you have an independent shirt on and stuff. So now I'm a consumer, but I'm not taking up space. You know what I mean? So like, you know how the NFL's got all these people that have never played football ever, but they might have played it in high school or college or whatever, but they're never going to touch a football again, like in a sport space. Now I'm consuming it and like participating in the culture as well. Like I'll still go to street leagues. My goal is to get to Tampa and just to watch it. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what sort of skateboarding needs to keep all these the wealth of skateboarding in it, not just be like, hey, I don't skate anymore.
Yeah,
now
yeah.
I'm out.
Well,
I mean?
for a lot of us that grew up skateboarding, well, I'll speak for myself. It was a huge part of my life and my family's life because my oldest siblings skated and they were like my heroes. My oldest siblings, my older brother was sponsored by just a local shop, but he was the hero of the town that could do everything, skateboard, surf, all that stuff. And so I looked up to him. And so skateboarding to me just reminds me of that era, that late 80s, early 90s era when I was, it was an innocent time. Everyone has nostalgia for those years. But so when I think about skateboarding, I think about that. So a lot of the stuff I have, the boards I collect and my skateboarding heroes, they're always from that era. So a lot of people like, oh, who's your favorite skateboarder from like the 2000s? Like, man, I don't know. Like I could name 3, from the 2000s. Yeah, so people are like, and they throw out a name like, hey, this guy. I'm like, no, I don't. Man, I feel bad, but I just have you seen Napoleon Dynamite? That movie?
I have, but I was never
so there's this character in it called Uncle Rico, and he's just a middle-aged guy that lives in a van, but he's just stuck in the 80s. And all he talks about is high school football and he's not good. That's also the key thing for him. For me, is that I was never good at skateboarding, but I'm just stuck in that era. But I love it. It's nostalgia, but I think it's like a healthy nostalgia where I still have a balance between, I've got my family, my job, all this stuff. But skateboarding to me just taps into this innocent age in my life where I'm reliving it. When I'm skateboarding and I'm in that zone of skateboarding, I am reliving those innocent years. And I think a lot of people feel that too with skateboarding. People that comment on videos, there's like a love for it that you can't explain because it's more than a sport or a hobby. It's closer to a religion, but even that starts sounding pretentious, but there's something really special about it.
Oh, I feel between surfing and skateboarding, I feel it's very similar sort of thing. Like, and it's because I think there's a part of it where it's something that you could do individual and still have an amazing time. But then there's also a part of it where there's a culture surrounding it and then your friends in there as well. And so you'll be like, I just had the best time. I remember going to this school and I'd go there by myself and I'd learn new tricks and I'd be like, holy dang, like I can't believe I just learnt this backside 180 to a switch 5-0 on this ledge. And then I didn't know that it was because remember back in the day it was really hard to get like magazines and videos and stuff in Australia.
You have some friends come back with some stuff from the US.
Well, it's just like we had a skate shop, I will say, but it was all the way up. It was about an hour away. So for us to get like a magazine, it would have to be like, oh, they had got 3 magazines in and you had to be the one that got there at the right time to get it from the store. And that's if we had money enough as a family for me to be like, can I pay $5.75 for a magazine? And so like, I didn't know what all these like sort of tricks were called or whatever. But anyway, so I'd learn that trick and I'd be like so stoked that I was like, I did this. Then I'd go skate with my friends and we'd have this time, hey, I've been trying this trick. You get that, and then you guys have all a moment together because you're like, oh, crazy, that's cool. And then, like, you go out to the culture, and then you're like, oh, okay, that trick has been done, and then these people are doing this in that trick, and you're like, oh, man, that's great. Like, it sort of builds up, you know what I mean, from that one little perspective, and then, like, being the battles you go through on solo, like, just fighting that out, and then, I don't know. There's just something, like, the saying where it says, fall down 7 times, get up 8. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's so true to skateboarding.
Yeah. Another thing I love about it that you reminded me of is that it was never, at least among my friends, it was never competitive to where if a friend had a kickflip, we would look at him like the best, It wouldn't be like, oh, but I don't have a kickflip. It's like, I need to get that. But it was all the inner competition about yourself and what you're trying to do, and everyone was always happy for you. And you go to skate parks now, you see it, like you get a trick that you're trying that you're trying like 10 times in a row and a bunch of strangers are cheering for you when you get it. They're not, he got it and I didn't. There's this camaraderie and a community in skateboarding that I don't know exists, say, in like basketball or some other sports. You know, there's this support system that everyone knows what it's like to struggle to get a trick, and they know you're getting hurt. And there's the beauty of it too, is that there's no monetary value. There's like no one outside of skateboarding cares. This is just for you. And that's what makes it so cool. Yeah. It's just like, I am going to try this trick, get hurt. And when I get it, I'm going to have the satisfaction, but it means nothing in the real world. Nothing. But that's what makes it beautiful. That's why I love it.
Like, yeah. When I grew up I was sort of late end of the 90s, and there's like, I feel like I say that as like there was a hater culture around it. Like everyone was like, where I grew up was like, well, they do have that like, well, I think I can do that trick better than him, or I got this trick and he can't do that trick kind of thing. There's this haterism around it. But when it got past that, and I moved to America, and then we were skating at this, I got this shitty little local skate park down there, but so I'd skate that. But then I'd be like, it was sort of a different crew and culture, and then it'd be like, oh man, that's sick that you got that trick. And I'm sort of that guy where I'd be, oh, have you tried putting your foot here, or try that for this trick? And then everyone like is sort of like, oh, that's a rad trick, good job. Oh, like that's a nice one over there. And that's the stuff that I see. And then you see on Street League or something like that, and I try and tell my wife or anyone who watches with me, be like, you watch, that guy will get a trick, and then people will go up and they'll be like, oh my gosh, his competitors will be so stoked he got that trick. Like, you know? And that's the stuff that I sort of like froth on that part of it. Like, I agree with you. It's that sort of like, we see your battle and we like.
There's that one clip from the Olympics. I can't remember who it was. It was a female skateboarder in the park section, and everyone, all her competition, like just picked her up at the end when she got her run. You know, it's like, I don't think that happens in other sports. There's more to this. There's I'm just speaking in circles now, but skateboarding is beautiful.
Oh, I'm feeling you. All right. What? We'll go to the next question. What is something you cannot live without?
My kids. You know, I'm not saying that because they might listen to this. Seriously, my kids and my wife. That's it. I didn't even need to explain that. Anyone that has kids, well, if you have shitty kids, I guess why you wouldn't want it. But my kids, they're everything. They're I feel like they're just they're an extension of me. They're just, I see myself in both of them, and
do they skate?
And they're everything. My son does. My daughter did when she was really little. We'd go to the park all the time. Then she got into dancing and cheerleading, and she broke her wrist on our mini ramp a couple years ago. And then she couldn't dance for a bit, and she decided to take. It was too risky to skateboard. And another problem is none of her friends skateboard. And if your friends aren't skateboarding or doing the sport that your parents kind of do or whatever, you're not going to do it because you just kind of, well, a lot of the time, you know, my daughter's just like, what are my friends doing? I'm just going to be doing that because she doesn't want to skateboard with me all the time. It's not that cool to hang out with your dad when you're like 14, 15, but she would, she think it's fun, but she needs friends that skate and nobody does around here.
Yeah. Oh, I can sit. Yeah. No one's Rodney Mullen sitting on a pad in the middle of Florida going like, I'm just
but Rodney, I mean? I would think if he had a friend group, maybe he wouldn't have developed the tricks he did because he would have been like, oh, okay, I think him being isolated is what made him who he was. Yeah. But also he definitely has, he's a like an intellectual, mathematics, all that stuff. So he really broke down in his head, he made skateboarding mathematics.
Yeah, he really did. I remember seeing when he the 4-1
a little bit. That was when I was still watching all the old 80s videos, but I watched a few of them.
Yeah, he had this one where he's like doing a trick on a bench, and I think it's a nollie, it's a crook nollie variant out, and you see his body, like he puts the board there, and then he like flips it out, and nearly every single one of my mates, whenever we'd like miss a trick, even though we like didn't understand why he's doing it, we'd like be like, all right, let's do this 5-0, 5-0. Do we go like 5-0? Like as if we were pretending we were like
You're
Rodney
thinking
Mullen, like calculating everything.
I remember that was when virtual reality came out, the Plan B video with Rodney skating street, doing the dark slides, the Casper slides, and at the end he went down that stair. Like that, we watched that so many times because that was like the next step in evolution. We were watching The Matrix for the first time. We're like, we've never seen this before, but we know Rodney, we knew him from the 80s, but our eyes were open to this world. And kind of like what we were saying before, but we can't do this. This isn't something that we could do, but our minds are being blown. That was 92 or 93. That was just, we watched that, just Rodney's section of virtual reality is like, what is going on?
And then you see the people that are doing that stuff now. Like there was a guy at Tampa that did a dark slide through.
That was Andy Anderson. Yep.
Yeah,
that was.
And he did that, and like.
Yep. Oh
wild.
Yeah. Sorry, is that my dog or your dog? Oh no, that's my dog because do you edit your podcasts?
I do a bit, but it's mine's more like. It's just meant to be more natural. Like shit happens, but if there was like a piece, I'll just edit that out.
Okay, because my wife's family's coming over today for my daughter. It was my daughter's birthday yesterday, but they're all bringing their dogs. So every time another one comes, there's going to be more dogs barking. But they'll be cool now. My dog usually just barks twice, and then she's done.
Oh, we just
sorry, we're Rodney. Can you hear me? It just says trying to reconnect. Oh, I think it's good. Okay.
We just jumped.
You good?
Yep. I think I can hear you.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So, I feel like this is going to be an easy answer for you. What do you do for fun?
Yeah, we just covered that. Next question. It's skateboarding.
Let me change. Let me adjust that a little bit. What are some of your favorite graphics that you have seen on skateboards?
I would go through the 80s skateboards, but that's too obvious because I got them all hanging up in my basement. My favorite board that I don't have, it would have been mid 90s. I don't know who put it out, but it was Arnold Schwarzenegger as the Terminator, with his skin on. And when you rode it and scratched off the bottom, it scratched it off, and it was the robot, the endoskeleton or whatever. Yeah. Do you remember that board?
I remember that board. I fully remember it. It's
was it Plan B?
Oh my gosh,
I can't remember who put that out.
I don't know if it was Plan B. It was on the
Everslick. It was the Everslick. Yep, so that was the Everslick day when those first started coming out. But I saw that board hanging up at the local skate shop. And then they're like, do you know when you ride that, it scratches off and it's the robot underneath? I was like, that is the best idea. But I didn't have money for that board. All the skateboards I had until I was in my late teens, early 20s were from friends. I would buy used boards with razor tails from friends. Like when the slick boards would go, I never had money.
No, I was lucky enough. So I started skating at 16. I skated around, but then I was like caught the skateboard bug when I was like 15 and a half. And then for my 16th birthday, I got like this big pool bomber, the Powell pool bombers with the flames down the middle. I had like jelly wheels on it because that's like the kind of stuff my stepdad had. And then within like 3 months, I got like a new board because I saved up and was like, I need a new board. But then I was buying all that stuff, but about a year after that, I got sponsored by the local skate shop. My skateboarding just started rocking up. Local surf shop, all right. But they didn't have any good brands. So like they didn't have any brands that were worth having. They had these like local decks called Omni. And so I would just ride these Omni decks. They had like Astro Boy on them and all this sort of stuff, like rip-offs of that stuff. And so I would just ride those all the time. And then I'd get like the rep might come in, like, hey, you want a board? And I'll be like, yeah, sweet. And then like So I'd get them at a discount rate for there. It wasn't super great, but it made my like skating, because I was able to have fresh boards a little bit earlier on, like progress a lot more. So I was lucky in that sense. But yeah, no, I feel you on the razor tails. I got a few cuts on there. Almost not stitches related, but I feel like very close, where some of them were cutting deep. What's your spirit animal?
I don't know. What's it? Give me some options. I'll give you my answer. Maybe a monkey. Let's just go with a monkey. Playful, kind of annoying. Depends. Let's just say a monkey. I'm not aggressive. I don't have that kind of like I'm not a lion where I'm not competitive with other people. I'm just having fun and kind of an idiot. So I'd say a monkey.
All right. I like it. What is something you say to yourself that you can't believe you've done that? Like, so for me personally, I've thrown out the first pitch at a Mariners game, and I worked at Nintendo, and they have a Nintendo Day, and I won the thing there, and so I got to do that. I even moving, like you probably have the same sort of thing, but I grew up in a small podunk surf town in Western Australia, like where I call sort of home. Me living in America, I'm like, I can't believe this. Like, I have to sometimes check myself to like, you're living out of the country. Like, I went to Hawaii like a week ago. Like, I sort of have these moments of like, your life is way beyond what you thought it was going to be.
I would say two things. And this kind of goes back to when I was a little kid. Like, what would I want to do? And one thing, I always wanted to do a backflip on a bike. Like on a BMX. I don't know. Did you grow up watching Rad? Was that a movie you watched?
I didn't watch it, but I definitely had a BMX phase.
So the big climax in that movie Rad is he does a backflip, and it was like a big thing. I think it came out in like 86. And so I grew up watching that, and then I was like, I want to get a backflip on a bike. So I got that a couple years ago. Up at Woodward, they have a foam pit that you could try it into, and then next to the foam pit, they have a resi ramp, like a soft ramp that has the same ramp that the transition that you jump into the foam pit. So you just pretty much just move 10 feet over it and just go for it. And I think I was like 42. I think I was like 42 at the time. So that was a big deal for me then. But it was also really scary to commit to it. So you just going down the ramp like, this is the time. And it was really... It was tough because I had nothing, kind of like what we were talking about before. I had nothing to gain from it. It wasn't like I'm going to get money or anyone I'd tell would care about it. But it was just like, this is a personal thing that I want to do before I get too old to do it. And so I landed it, but it was on the resi pad. It wasn't onto concrete or wood.
Over 40.
Okay, I appreciate that.
No, I feel that because there's so many things. Like I've always wanted to do a backflip on a snowboard, and I've never done one. I've never been like the mountain near me is not very good, and so I've never been in a position. And then seeing the even the big jumps where people do some jumps here, I'm like,
you can do it.
I'm not.
You can do it. Snowboarding, a backflip on a snowboard is easier than a bike. Well, 100. Well, I think so. You just don't do it because a lot of time when people do backflips on snowboards, they're doing it on a kicker that they build in the park. And then behind it, it is all packed. It is all just ice pretty much. So you don't want to land upside down. Just wait for a powder day and find a little jump. And it's not even that big of a deal. Like I taught my daughter got one when she was 12. I got her to do a backflip on a snowboard when she was 12 or 13. Wow. No, 12 or 13. And she just threw it on a powder day. She landed on her shoulder and scorpion the first time. And I was a little worried, but then I was like, are you good? Because it was pretty soft. And she said she's good. So she went back up and then she did it. But they're really not, you could do it. I don't know how old you are, but it's a thing. It's achievable.
Yeah. I'm about to hit 3 or 42.
All right, I'm 44. You could do it. I did one last year. I did one before her because I wanted to test. I was like, I want to just make sure this little kicker is quick enough to throw you just so you don't get a lot of airtime, but you can throw a backflip really quick on it. So I did it before her, and I think it had been like 20 years for me since I had done one on a snowboard, but it wasn't a big deal at all.
I haven't snowboarded that much. When I first moved here, I snowboarded a whole bunch, and then I was going to school, and I was also working in a movie theater, so I was able to get up there in the mornings when no one would be there. And then I got a full-time job, and I was like, okay, I'll go after work. And I was like, what's all these lines? And then I'd go there on the weekend. I'd be like, why are all these people here? And then I just gave up. I was like, I'd rather.
Oh yeah, 100%. Every year, my wife's like, we need to go snowboarding more, because my wife snowboards. That's how we met. We were snowboarding buddies. Yeah. But every winter, I don't want to tell her. I'm like, I could not snowboard ever again. I think I'll be fine.
My kids go up skiing, and they're really into skiing, and I'm like, I told my wife, I was like, I could never snowboard.
I like it. Like,
I'd much rather.
If it's a powder day, like if while I'm on the run, I'm like, this is fun, and going off little jumps on the side. But all the wake up early.
Yep.
Did I forget my gloves? Where are my goggles? Like, and then you look at a skateboard and you're like, this is simplicity. This is what I want to do on a Saturday morning. I want to go, not even Saturday morning. I could sleep until 2 and go skateboarding. Snowboarding, you can't.
Yeah, exactly. I feel you on that. All right. Who is your go-to person?
In what way? Like a hero?
So you could do it that way. I guess it's your interpretation. My thought was, so my wife is my go-to person, but my best mate Sparkle is my go-to person. Like, I can chat to anything about my wife, but like outside of my wife, that guy, we can pick up the phone, and it might be 3 months since we spoke. Not a moment has changed, and we can go into either something deep or some dick and fart joke straight off the bat, and it's just like nothing. Like, we're just right in. We're in the same universe. Like, do you have someone like that, or your go-to person as your idol? I don't know. Whatever you interpret it.
I don't really have that many friends. I've got lots of people that I'm friendly with, but I don't have really anyone I'm like texting. So I would say my wife. My wife, she's definitely a different personality to me. She compliments, like, she's the authoritative parent. So she's the one that, gets the kids doing their homework and keeping up on their grades. And I'm kind of more like one of the kids, not in a, just in a, like a, I'm just like a big baby around the house, like just kind of messing around. Let's go skateboarding or whatever. But, yeah, I'd say my wife, just because I could tell her anything, and she doesn't always understand kind of my passion for skateboarding or different things that I've done, but she'd support me and let me do it. But my wife.
I could not agree with that anymore from my perspective. I feel 100%. I wonder if it's the skateboarders for us that keeps us young. I don't know. But my kids, I'll be like, I've got a bunch of nephews around. I'm always like, let's do something silly and fun or crazy, and get like, I'm always being super playful. And then ask me to like organize something, and I'm like,
oh man. So when it comes to like, hey, did you call the place to renew your driver's license, my truck registry, anything like that? I'm like, no, I didn't. Like I go in to pay for a ticket that I didn't pay or whatever, in the building. And then I come out and I got a ticket on my truck because my registration's like 3 months off. And, I'm just the worst with any responsibility. I'm just pretty much a 12-year-old still. It's nothing to be proud of, but it's just the way it is. I mean, I could change. I could probably try out.
I feel you. Yeah, you and me both. I could probably make my wife's life.
Yeah, I know.
We're try a bit harder.
We're shit.
What is an unspoken social rule that you love or you hate?
What the first one that popped in my head is the returning your shopping carts, or trolleys, should I say, to the corral. Like, get out of my truck.
Oh my
If I park in the parking lot and my door is blocked by a shopping trolley that somebody just left there, it's like, just put it back. How hard is it to put it back in the corral? So easy. That's it.
You know, I was walking my shopping cart or trolley back yesterday, and I was walking along, and I was like, it's just in my own head, and I put it back, and I see a couple over there, and I was like, all right.
Yeah. I do that.
Ones back, and so and so I was just doing that, but I was like, oh, am I taking someone else's job because they're like they get to come out and get them, or am I being nice and like that person doesn't have to work as hard? But then I was like, it would be really cool is if it was a social thing where if you're walking your cart back, but then someone's walking in, it was a social rule, like where people are, oh, hey, I'll take that in for you. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
Wheel it back in for you. And then you would do the same for other people.
I get that sometimes. People do that for me. Or I'm walking in, they're like, hey, take this. I get that there's also nice people here in Utah, but that happens a bit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe that would be a thing. Here in Seattle, I have never seen that. I've done it for people. Be like, oh, do you want me to take that in for you? Yeah, sure. But I don't know if that's the Australian in me being like, oh, that little extra, like where what's it called? Americans are individual collectivism. Okay. Australia has more of a collectivism.
Yeah, I don't know.
American. But anyway, I don't know. Okay, we're down to the last two questions, and then you can get into the party.
Okay. Can you hear them? Are you picking them up, talking on the mic? Okay, good.
No. And do you know what's funny is I think that with the mic, a little bit there, but I've got a feeling that it won't play as much once we get into the recording. It'll be, once it plays out. We'll see. It doesn't really matter. I do this in coffee shops as well, and that's totally fine. A little bit of ambient noise is fun. What are three things that you were grateful for?
Already things I've talked about. My wife, my kids. That's two. The third one might be tough.
Let's take those
sorry, what's
out.
that?
Really? Take those ones out. So, like, you can be grateful for something small. Like, I've seen that Tony Hawk follows you.
All right, okay.
Like, so you could be like
okay, here, I'll count my wife and my kids as two, and then the third one would be that. I think you're 100% right. You know Malcolm Gladwell, he has that saying, 10,000 hours till you perfect your art or what you do. You need to do it for 10,000 hours. I've been thinking about it lately. I think you need to fail for 10,000 hours at trying to build an audience before you can appreciate them. Because I tried for, like I said, 10 years to make videos that no one watched. No one watched my YouTube videos, and I put a lot of work into it. I don't understand. They seem good to me, like I'm putting my heart into them, and they're not catching on. And then things started picking up on Instagram. It was like a year ago, right? This time last year is when I started making skateboard videos, and they started picking up, and I'm trying. And I'm not stressing it, but I'm trying. Whenever I see a positive comment, I will write back and be sincere, because I appreciate the hell out of people watching my videos and telling me that they've gotten back into skateboarding because of it, or they can relate, or I get messages on Messenger just telling me thank you for getting them into skateboarding, or just even giving them a laugh. And I really, I'm blown away with it, but I also feel like failing for almost 10 years at wanting people to not necessarily pat me on the back or anything like that, but just telling me that what I did was worth their time, or was something of substance, that I contributed something positive towards skateboarding. And when people tell me that, that is, other than my wife and my kids, that is like the most thankful thing. I'm just really humbled and appreciative of that. I've been able to make people happy just from stupid 20-second videos. But that's it. That. I'm glad you brought up Tony Hawk, because that is what that is the biggest thing I'm thankful for these days, for sure.
Yeah, that's like, honestly, when I see your stuff, one, it looks like a lot of work putting into it. Like, being someone who puts a lot of work into videos and illustrations, stuff like that. I know the work that doing the double cut shots, making sure you read the frame, making sure the timing's right, like all that stuff. And then the story behind it, and trying to make sure like you're hitting those jokes and everything. I find it really funny, and I appreciate that. And I think that the fact that you even, when I message you, because I like message out a few people, and I say, this person, they might not hit me up. They might be like, I don't want to be on a podcast or whatever. And you hit me back, and I was like, let's get it. That's sick. So what you're saying, I sort of like, it's true. Like, you do hit people back, and you do that.
Oh, so yeah, awesome. Thanks. Yeah, I try. People message me, and I will get back to. Sometimes I get weird messages that anyway, yeah, I try to. There are some weird ones in there.
Do you not get dick pics? You get deck pics? And you're like, stop sending me the deck pics. Give me some dick pics.
I'm so thankful. I'll look at your dick pic. I might not send you one back, but I'll look at it. I'll give it a thumbs up.
2 if it's really impressive.
And then a laughing emoji, and then a heart emoji. Then I go too far. Then they'll send me. Yeah.
All right. You have to wear a shirt on it with a slogan for a year. What does it say?
Not a brand name, just a slogan, just like a inspirational.
It's one of your slogans.
Oh, geez.
Whatever you want. It's your shirt, your slogan.
Man, I would need to think about it. I can't even think. All the shirts I wear these days are just skateboard brands.
Yeah, me too.
So I don't have a clever or interesting answer for that. I'll just wear just a plain Vans shirt. That's it. I don't know. It's nice to. I used to I didn't wear skateboarding clothes as much 10 years ago, 5 years ago, because I was like hanging out with friends. None of my friends skate. They all just mountain bike, or not even mountain bike, road bike. Just I'm 40 years old and I'm over all this kid stuff. And so I kind of fell into that. I'm just going to wear, just like a normal black shirt with that, or, just a colored shirt. And then at some point a couple of years ago, I bought myself a Thrasher hat. I'm like, I'm going to embrace this. This is me. Fuck everyone. I'm just going to do what's good for me. Yeah. And so I started wearing that, and then I started buying more skateboard shirts. And then I kind of just feel like, I live in the suburbs. Nobody's skateboarding in their 40s where I am. And I'm just embracing it at this point. It's like, this is my life. I don't want to be ashamed of it or embarrassed by it. I know I'm kind of a joke in the suburbs, just like, skateboarding dad, in his 40s trying to relive. And it's like, this is me. If I die tomorrow, I'm happy. Are you happy?
Yeah. Oh, I think the same thing. There's so many people I will chat to around here, because I live in the burbs of I'm in Seattle, but I'm outside of Seattle, and I'm like, couldn't be more suburban, and I stick out like a sore thumb because everyone around here wears like jeans, sweater, like a puffy Patagonia sweater vest, like here with a short sleeve white shirt underneath, and then I got some sort of runners, and I'm like, all these people they work for Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook, Google, they've all got money. I'm like, at least get a fucking great pair of kicks or something like that instead of just these runners that you're wearing. Show off what you got. But I stick out like a sore thumb, and I'm wearing right now my brother's skateboard shop in Western Australia, 1991, butter freaking sweater. I got Brixton pants on, Vans shoes, and it's just all I sort of wear. But then I chat to these guys and be like, hey, we'll be at a party or something like that, and I'll be like, hey, what do you do for sort of fun outside of whatever? And they'll be like, oh, what would you do if you didn't have to work or something like that? I'd be like, I don't know. And I'd be like,
yeah,
how do you not know?
Who are you?
I'd be, I'd have my dream. I'd just have a massive shed. I'd have a skate park on one side. I would have a pickleball court on the other side, and I would just transfer between both of them. And I'd have one hip ollie, and I'd have a mini ramp.
Yeah.
I'd just be ollieing, mini ramp. because that's all my knees can handle these days.
It's funny because I've never really understood kind of when you get a lot of money and you start buying the fancy shoes and the fancy clothes. I've just never really cared about fashion or anything, because I'm still dressing like I did when I was 15, 16, like still wearing Vans, still wearing ripped pants, not because I bought them ripped, is because I ripped them working or skateboarding, and I don't know.
Yeah,
it's just, it doesn't cross my mind to wear fancy clothes. Like the nicest shoes I have are my new half cabs, like I don't have any, I have a suit from 20 years ago and I never wear it. Like I don't know. So I'm just kind of a sloppy working class construction guy that just wears ripped. Like I probably got a hole right there on my shirt right now. This is my nice shirt.
Oh, half my time my wife's like, what's that stain from? I was like, no idea. I'm fine. I'm rocking that. My favorite jacket right now is one that I used because my car got stuck in the snow and I put my jacket down to get friction under it so I could get out. And it's got a big tear in the shoulder now. And I'm like, it's got character. It's got
a story too.
I love this jacket now. Yeah, exactly. So that's why I love it. All right. Well, thanks, Rich, for being on the show.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
In a couple of weeks,
it's been fun.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks, I'll get an illustration out and we'll go. Oh, I did want to say one thing. In the suburbs, this is many years ago now. I ran into a guy and he had it might have been a Thrasher or an America shirt on, and I was like, when you see sometimes the dads with it, I'm like, oh, hey, where'd you get that shirt from? And and I was expecting like his kids got it for him or wife got it for him to be edgy and cool, and he goes, oh yeah, I'm really into skateboarding. So me and that guy, whose name is just coincidentally Matt, we would hang out and we'd watch Street League together. And
really?
We traveled to LA together to watch Street League. So now, whenever we chat, he literally just texted me the other day and he goes, what's your favorite skate shoe of all time?
Wow.
And so we had a whole conversation of different skate shoes of what to wear. And I was like, oh yeah, like I've had a bunch of half cabs that have just been my chiller shoes. And he goes, I've never worn half cabs as chillers. And I was like, well, that's like, I think maybe because I was so expensive when I was a kid that I didn't want to skate them. Like, because I was like, I can't skate these. I can't afford to get another pair. And so, anyway, it was just fun to have one person that I met. Now he lives in New Hampshire, so we just text each other when like stuff. Oh, did you see that Street League? Or did you see this video come out? Or like the epically lated, like.
And this is just from seeing a guy with a skate shirt on the street that you talked to.
So we had ran into them before, but I had no idea. And they had just moved to town. We went to a cul-de-sac party, and so people there, and I saw him there again. And then I saw the shirt, and then we just started chatting. And from there, we were just like hit it off from skateboarding. And we just like shoot the shit about skateboarding all the time. Like when we'd get together at another party, we would just sit basically there talking about skateboarding, about like. Luan Oliveira, who you might not know, but he rides like a really flat skateboard with no concave in it. And we'd be like, how does he do these tricks with these like no concave and stuff? So we sort of in the same sort of era of skateboarding where we're old enough where we can't skate as well as we did, but we like appreciate like where the tricks came from.
Yeah, see, and if he chose not to embrace his skateboarding roots and he just went with a polo shirt, you would not have this relationship with him. So that's why I'm glad I started rocking the skateboard shirts again. Bit.
Yeah, it's flying your freak flag.
Well, thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks, Rich. It was very fun.